Hello friends, welcome to Technique. This is Nirmal here, and in this video we're going to do a comparison of two mid-range flagship devices. We have the Poco F3 GT and the iQOO 7. So these are two devices around the 30,000 price segment in India. Now the iQOO 7 pricing is starting around 31,999, that's 32,000 without any sort of discounts, but the Poco F3 GT pricing is much lower, almost 5k lower. Although the variants are different, it starts at 26,999, so it's 27 versus 32 for the base variants. But again, the base variant of the iQOO 7 is 8GB RAM, while we get only 6GB RAM. Even the 8GB RAM variant is cheaper on the Poco F3 GT. Now, if you're looking to buy a mid-range of premium flagship devices, which of these is better and which of these devices excel in which all areas, that's what we're going to talk about in this detailed comparison. So before getting started, if this is your first time on this channel, do hit that red subscribe button and also hit the bell icon to get notified of all the videos we publish. So let's begin the detailed comparison. Now, first of all, let's first have a look at the design and build quality. Now, if you look at the design of these two devices, two of the really premium looking devices out there. Now, both are elegant looking devices. Now, the differentiating aspect is the Poco F3, which is kind of a funky design, more inclined towards the gaming centric design elements. But the iQOO 7 is more elegant and looking like a classy device. Now, both of these devices are really good in terms of design, and it's more of a personal choice on which one you like. Now both have the vertical camera layout. Now there are some additional accents on the Poco F3 GT, including the sidelines, the LED light around the camera, more like a gaming device. Now iQOO 7 is more elegant in terms of design aspects. Now if you look at both these devices, both are equally good in terms of design. We'll leave it to your viewers to decide which of these devices they like and which of them look better. Now when it comes to material quality, now this is one area where there is a difference. Now both the devices are sandwiched in glass. You can see that back panel and the front are glass finishing. Now the difference here is the Poco F3 GT is a complete metal chassis. Now the side panel is also metal, while here we have a plastic material. So that's the differentiating aspect. So in terms of build quality, the iQOO 7 isn't bad, but then Poco F3 GT takes the lead, and the better build device is the Poco F3 GT. Now both are protected in terms of glass finishing. Now even in terms of front panel design, you can see that both the devices have a punch hole centrally located camera. Now the bezels are slightly lesser on the Poco F3 GT compared to the iQOO 7. So overall in terms of design, we would say it's a personal choice, but build quality is better on the Poco F3 GT. Now next is the display. Now both these devices are really good in terms of display. Both are AMOLED panels, 120Hz refresh rate. Again, really good in terms of display experience because both are HDR enabled. Now the differentiating aspect of these two devices is that Poco F3 GT is a 10-bit AMOLED panel, while the iQOO 7 is an 8-bit AMOLED panel. Now 10-bit AMOLED panel is definitely better because it comes with additional color options, 1 billion colors compared to millions on the iQOO 7. It's not that we can actually see them, but then when you watch movies, that actually shows up in the display. And this is one area where we feel the Poco F3 GT takes the lead in terms of display experience. So display colors and the 10-bit AMOLED panel definitely is overall better experience on the Poco F3 GT. Now having said that, if you go into the outside sun, in bright sunlight, we feel the iQOO 7 definitely has a slight edge in terms of overall brightness levels compared to the Poco F3 GT. But having tested these two devices for almost 2 to 3 weeks, probably I would pick the Poco F3 GT in terms of display experience by a small margin though the iQOO 7 display is also equally good. Now next is the software. Now both the devices run on Android 11. Now we have two custom UIs. Now the MIUI 12.5 on top of Android 11 on the Poco F3 GT, and we have the FunTouch OS 11 on the Android 11. Now if you look at the UIs, both are good and both are customized UIs, offering a lot of additional features in terms of memory management and response time. Both did an equally good job. We have done a speed test and we couldn't find any sort of difference. Even memory management also really good. Now when it comes to the bloatware included with the UI, you can see that both do ship with some bloatwares, but the number of bloatwares are more on the iQOO 7. Now having said that, both UIs performed really well. Probably it's more or less user preference whether you like the Fun Touch OS or the MIUI 12.5. Both are really good. The MIUI 12.5 has drastically improved in the last update, and this feels really nice. The Fun Touch OS is also equally good. Now we leave to your viewers to decide which of these UIs they like. But if I were to pick one, probably I would go with the MIUI 12.5. Next is the performance side. Now both these devices are coming with really powerful hardware. We have the Dimensity 1200 chip, which is a flagship chipset of MediaTek, and this is either coupled with 8GB RAM or 6GB RAM. You get 128GB storage and 256GB storage. Now here we get the Qualcomm Snapdragon 870 chip. It's a really powerful chip with either 8GB RAM or 12GB RAM. Now you can also expand the RAM using the storage, but do we really need that is kind of a debatable thing, so we are not going into that. Now in terms of performance, in day-to-day experience, both are equally good. We can't really say which is better because response time, the overall experience, speed of opening of apps, everything was quite similar on these two devices. Now when it comes to gaming, this is one area where a lot of you might be looking at. Now the Poco F3 GT has two gaming magnetic triggers located at the top. Now those are not available on the iQOO 7, but iQOO 7 has the advantage that it has better graphic options for games like PUBG or BGMI because it's in Qualcomm's 870 chip, which is right now not available on the Poco F3 GT, the Dimensity 1200. So it's again a mixed performance. Gaming looks really good. If you want higher frame rate and graphic options in your favorite game, probably the iQOO 7 makes sense. Now both are equally tuned for gaming experience, so both of these have the cooling technologies included. Personally, I like these magnetic triggers on the Poco F3 GT. Both of these triggers do give a different experience, but again gaming is kind of more or less equal. Although the Poco F3 GT has these magnetic triggers, the higher graphic options are with the iQOO 7. So that's the gaming performance. Now call quality, both of these devices are really good. Both are 5G enabled, both have VoLTE, dual VoLTE, voice or Wi-Fi, and carrier aggregation is supported. Now here the difference is other difference is both are LPDDR4X RAM and UFS 3.1 storage support on both the phones. Now fingerprint scanner, we get an in-display fingerprint scanner on the iQOO 7, while the side mounted. In terms of experience, both are equally good. Both do have face unlock as well. So that's the performance. Now both of these devices have dual speakers, and the sound output we felt was better on the Poco F3 GT. Again, more or less a personal choice, but both did really good in terms of audio quality. Next, let's move on to the camera aspect. Now both these devices have a triple camera setup. Now we have a 64 megapixel sensor on the Poco F3 GT. It's an OmniVision sensor, while we have a Sony IMX598 48 megapixel sensor with optical image stabilization on the iQOO 7. We have a 13 megapixel ultra wide, while we have an 8 megapixel ultra wide on the Poco F3 GT. We have a 16 megapixel selfie camera on both these devices. So let's have a look at the camera samples taken with these two devices and see which performs better. So looking at the daylight shots, you can see both the devices produces pretty good imaging abilities. Both are really good in terms of detailing offered. The colors are a bit better on the Poco F3 GT, while iQOO 7 does have a saturation issues. Now if you look at the sharpness levels, both provide good sharpness levels, but the Poco F3 GT has this issue of over sharpening. This we have mentioned in the camera review of the Poco F3 GT as well. As a result, the noise levels are slightly on the higher side, but color reproduction, as you can see, Poco F3 GT is stellar, but the iQOO 7 oversaturates. Now when it comes to ultra wide, the 13 megapixel iQOO 7 produces better results than the Poco F3 GT. Now next, let's look at the close-up images. Here again you can see both produces similar results, but color reproduction seems to be slightly better on the Poco F3 GT. But having said that, the sharpness levels, the over sharpening issue is slightly a weird thing on the Poco F3 GT, but again details are also good. Now when it comes to portrait mode, this is where the Poco F3 GT has the better looking portraits. The skin tones especially looks pleasing and more or less natural on the Poco F3 GT. Moving on to the low light images, this is where the iQOO 7 takes the lead with better low light images, and the optical image stabilization does help in slightly better overall low lighting images. Once again, the Poco F3 GT has this over sharpening issue, and this actually brings up a bit more noise levels than the iQOO 7 in terms of low light experience. So these are some of the samples we have taken with the iQOO 7 and the Poco F3 GT, and here again you can see that the over sharpening issue on the Poco F3 GT actually shows up. Now when it comes to selfie experience, again we feel the iQOO 7 has a slight advantage in terms of skin tones. Although the selfies have come quite good on both the devices, again you can choose based on how you want your selfies to be. So overall in terms of camera, we feel iQOO has the edge. So that is the camera performance of these two devices. Overall we feel iQOO 7 has the edge in terms of overall camera performance, not by a huge margin, but iQOO has its own issues like the color saturation. So that was the camera aspect of these two devices. So that is the camera aspect. Now finally moving on to the battery life. Now we have a 4400 mAh capacity battery on the iQOO 7, while it's a 5065 mAh capacity battery on the Poco F3 GT. You get almost like 600 mAh capacity battery additional on the Poco F3 GT. Now in terms of charging technology, both of these devices are really fast. Now both of these devices take almost same time in terms of charging test, even though Poco F3 GT has a higher capacity battery. Now in terms of battery life, obviously the Poco F3 GT has a slight advantage over the iQOO 7 in terms of battery life as well as charging technology. So summing up, which of these devices should you buy? So let's analyze all the aspects and see which all areas these devices win. Now design and build quality, I would say this is more or less a tie. It's equally good looking devices out there. Now it's more of a personal choice on whether you like the Poco F3 GT or the iQOO 7. So I would leave it to your viewers to decide which of these has a better looking design. Now the front panel design is slightly better on the Poco F3 GT because of the lesser bezels. Now build quality, this is where the Poco F3 GT takes the lead. So Poco takes an advantage in terms of the build quality. Now display experience, again Poco is slightly better because of the 10-bit AMOLED panel. Now software experience again is a mix. Here I would say it's more or less tie. Probably MIUI 12.5 or the FunTouch OS is a personal choice. Now in terms of performance, again equally good in terms of overall experience. So we can't really pick a winner. It's very hard to pick a winner. Again, gaming experience also, both did a really good job. In terms of camera experience, this is where the iQOO 7 takes the lead here. Although the iQOO 7 is not a perfect camera, it has saturation issues. We have said this in multiple videos. Although there are saturation issues, it's slightly better in terms of overall experience than the Poco F3 GT, where the camera was kind of, I would say, not bad, but still there is room for improvement. So in terms of camera experience, probably the iQOO 7 would be the slightly better option along with optical image stabilization. Now in terms of battery life and charging, the Poco F3 GT takes the lead. Now finally coming to the pricing. So the Poco F3 GT pricing starts at 26,999, that's 27,000 for the 6GB RAM, while the base variant of the iQOO 7 retails for 31,999. So almost 5k difference between these two devices. So for that pricing, we would definitely say the Poco F3 GT is the best value for money device out of these two devices, because it does have great build quality, better display, charging technology is also slightly better, battery is also higher, you also get additional triggers included, and the pricing is almost 5k cheaper than the iQOO 7, although iQOO 7 base variant has 8GB RAM and the Poco F3 GT base variant is 6GB RAM. But even the 8GB RAM of the Poco F3 GT is priced lower than the iQOO 7. So if you're looking for a really good value for money flagship out of these two devices, the Poco F3 GT, in my opinion, feels the better out of these two devices. But having said that, if your priority is more on camera, probably the iQOO 7 makes sense to buy. So that is a detailed comparison of the Poco F3 GT with the iQOO 7. Hope you enjoyed watching this video. Do hit that like button and also hit the red subscribe button for more videos. Thanks for watching. Hope to see you in our next video. Have a great day.